right, there we go. All right, so good morning, everybody. We are on Labor Day, and hopefully everybody's out laboring, and that's why they're not on here this morning, but that's okay. I got an interesting email this morning, so I just wanted to touch upon that because who could tell me when was Labor Day first initiated? When did Congress declare that the first Monday in September was going to be a holiday and dedicated to people that really helped build America?
I will confess that I read it, but I forgot.
Okay, so you're on the same email list. Okay. Yeah, I do look at those emails and I find a lot of interesting things, and it helps make me think and helps me become better at what I do. So, but I found it interesting this morning. So I was like, okay, let me throw it out there because I really didn't know. Any guesses?
I want to say 1968
Oh, no,
is when
it's
they made it
much
official, or
older than
two.
that. It's 1894.
Whoa.
I was thinking
Yeah.
when they made it official, but okay.
Industrial Revolution, maybe?
Well, yeah, I think it was let me just look here.
But you're correct.
Yeah, that's oh, according to the email, that's that's what they're saying. And so what what Ninja Selling talks about is how today is a day where people tend to get together for different events, whether it's a picnic, family event, just an outing of some sort. So it's really a great day to implement the Ford method, right? Talk about family and friends, but the big thing is recreation, like just simply asking people, what do what do you like to do for fun, or what have you done that was fun recently? Just as Bill started us out, what made you laugh this past week? It's like, hey, what'd you do for fun this past week? And or you can even use, what made you laugh this past week? I mean, look, any kind of question like that helps to get conversation started. And the idea is to ask more questions, right? And then let them talk, let them share, because that's what builds rapport, and that's what will get people saying, man, I just had a great conversation with Cindy because she asked me all these great questions, and I got to talk, I got to share all about myself, right? Which is what people like to do. And what happens with real estate agents is we tend to want to share more about ourselves than ask questions of others and just sit back and listen, right? And a lot of times too, we might ask a question and then we get a response from our customer, and then we try to, then we respond to that with similar things that are in part of our life, rather than coming back with another question and keeping them talk. So that's one of the things you want to talk about, but talk about their family, their friends, their occupation, their recreation, and of course their dreams, right? If you can live anywhere, where would that be? If you could sell your house right now and move to another area, what area would that be? Do you prefer living in the mountains or at the beach, or what's that, Ellie?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. There you go. Yeah. So that's, what's it going to take to make that dream happen for you? And that's where, when you're having a conversation with somebody, it's like, well, how can I help you? How can I help you achieve that? Maybe we can get your home sold and you can make that move. But now you also have a reason to follow up with that person, right? You can do a little bit of digging on how to make the move from Florida to Puerto Rico, and you can send a good article. Say, hey, I just came across this, and I remember you saying your dream was to move to Puerto Rico, and here's a great article on how to do that, and here's the benefits of doing that, right? Become a resident of Puerto Rico, and you no longer have income tax. I know a lot of guys that have done that, and they moved from Texas to Puerto Rico, and I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, and I don't think that they pay any income tax, so just to declare that your primary residence. So that's certainly something to think about. But that's what opens great conversations, and And that's what it's all about, right? And building relationships is you start off with building rapport, and then you can build a relationship from there. You know, as long as you keep asking good questions, you keep people engaged. You know, once you start talking too much, then you lose that rapport, and then you know, you lose the engagement and tend to lose that person.
All
So
about the engagement.
I said, what was that, Ellen?
It's all about the engagement.
It is all about the engagement, right? It's the same with social media. Social media is all about the engagement. So you've got to do things that get people engaged, asking questions. You know, when you're making your posts, try to ask a question that people will be happy to respond to. Maybe they can give a quick answer, and then when they actually respond, you know, instead of just putting a like on that response, you should respond to their response, right? Maybe follow up their response with another question. And what that does is create that engagement. The more engagement you create on a post, the more that post seems to make its rounds, right? More people get to see it. So that's really important. And that's an area I used to be really good at, but now somebody responds to my post, I just put a like on it. Because I try not to sit too much on social media, because I don't look at that as being our source of bread and butter. But if you're trying to make social media be your source of bread and butter, then those are the things you should do. And I know, Ellie, you do that wonderfully. I mean, because I see your stuff a lot, and I see you posting on other group posts, and you do create a lot of engagement. So kudos to you. Cindy, I know you've got a couple of websites, and you've gotten some good engagement. I know you've got one that got like 15,000 followers on it, and you say you haven't been able to really get any real estate business from that, but I would continue with that, because the more you can engage with those people, that's a lot of people, and I know that can probably keep you really busy. But you know, I believe that there will be business that will eventually come from that.
Thank you. Yeah, 16,300. So yeah, sometimes you
Wow.
still scratch your head going, what do you do with all this?
So what I would recommend doing, right, is do a little bit more homework on, all right, so I have 16,000 followers on this group page. How do I monetize that? Right? If you Google that, you're going to come up with all kinds of answers. You know, what you don't want to do is you don't want to go join something else where you got to pay money and they'll teach you how to monetize it, right? Because that's just throwing your money away. But you'll come up with answers, right? You'll come up with suggestions. And it's like anything else. And I always teach people this in real estate. Look, what works for me may not work for you. And what works for you may not work for me. But the more ideas that you get, the more you can try different things and see what will work for you. And you know, there's got to be a way that you can put that to work and get yourself in a good position through social media. Valerie, you got something to add?
Yeah, I'll bet AI could give her a nice list.
Yeah, AI. Put it into AI. As long as you position the prompt properly, it will give you what you need to know.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I mean, after this weekend and making so many unique stops, it definitely provided me with a lot of posts. However, one of the challenges, and Ellie, you may find this as well, sometimes you can go, if you're not careful, 2 weeks without posting anything. But sometimes when you have so much content, you want to just it'd be great just to post. But of course, you know, we can't do that. But
Yeah.
having something with a little bit more structure. I know there's a couple more that we talked about that I'm still looking into. You know, I have 3 different social media post scheduling companies, but sometimes when they're all in front of you and they all take a lot of effort to learn, it was a little, you know, overwhelming, I'll call it. It's like, you're not lazy. It was just a little too much. Is that bad?
No, that's not bad. And look, if you're going to schedule posts, what I've learned is using these third-party companies are not going to be beneficial to you. Facebook recognizes that. If Facebook takes the approach that, well, why don't you use our program to schedule those posts? So you go into Facebook, into the manager, not the ads manager, but the other, I forget what it's called, because I don't use it.
Scheduler.
But the
Is there a scheduler,
yeah,
Ellie?
Mhm.
I
yeah,
haven't
there's
seen
a
this.
scheduler in there. And you can schedule all your posts. Now, that still is going to not give you all of what you need versus, going in there each day, because what they want you to do is go in there each day and create the post and spend some time on Facebook, right? Because that's how they make their money. So everything about Facebook is, how do we keep people engaged? How do we keep them on the page? Because as you're scrolling, there's more ads. It's like every third or fourth post is a sponsored ad. So find something that works. Maybe there is a third-party program that works. Maybe the type of post is what will make a difference. I don't know. Ellie, does Steve Black talk about that in his classes? I haven't attended one of his workshops in a while, but
He hasn't talked about it in a while,
yeah,
but I use the Facebook scheduler like to post mine a week in advance because like I don't want to be on there thinking about posting on Saturday and Sunday and I have something
yeah.
going out. I'm trying to look for it for a timetable of when is the best time to post, whether it's 9:30 in the morning or 7 p.m. It all
Yeah, see,
changes, but I just try to get the most recent algorithm to say, Tuesdays at 9:30 and Thursdays at 10 will work better for audiences when they're on social media.
Ellie,
and
can
that's
I
what.
reach out to you this week and you can show me where the scheduling section
Sure,
is?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you can find out, like, your audience, what is the best time to post for them. And I've tried that theory in the past, just trying to find those best times.
You can look on your insights too, like on your page.
Yeah.
Check your insights where the highs and lows are for engagement, and then that's when you can figure out your time.
Yeah, and I've just learned that, that didn't make a difference with my post. So I don't go by that. I post when I'm ready to post, and I find that really what makes a difference is what I'm posting.
Yeah, they
You
look
know,
at it and they're like, oh, first of all, yesterday, I think it was yesterday or Saturday, they're like, how are you posting anything? I just got the message that you posted something and you're right here with me. So, I'm like,
yeah, there
I'm
you
not on
go.
social media all the time. They're like, it looks like
Sometimes.
my mom. My mom goes, does Facebook pay you? Why are you on there all the time? I'm like, me, mom.
Yeah, yeah,
Facebook sometimes reaches out to me and they say, if you produce a regular post and we'll go ahead and push it up, it, that particular post. And I find them quite silly. For example, it'll say on my travel group, every Thursday or maybe once a month, you have a chance to tell it which one to do. And it'll say something like, post a picture of yourself when you were a kid traveling.
Hmm.
So if you ever saw that, that is purely Facebook. And, it'll have an emoji of a camera or something to that effect. And they haven't worked at all. I just thought it was odd that they attempt to, push their own ideas.
I've never seen that.
yeah. I've never seen that either. But and that, you said that hasn't worked, because that sounds like something AI would do, and I would think that would work, right? People would engage and post a picture of them traveling as a kid. Although
Yeah.
I know for me, I'd have to go find a printed picture, take a picture of it, and upload it. That would be a lot more work than it's worth, right? So, um, not everybody's got their old photos digitized, um, and so, just going to try to find something like that could be, yeah, could be more trouble. So that would, I could see where that would not be as engaging.
or it worked once and then it wants to do it. I found that it tried to do it again a month later, and then I just turned it off. So it was kind of repetitive. I just thought that was kind of strange.
Hmm.
Anyway, things that make us go,
Yeah. Yeah. Facebook makes me do that almost every day, you know, with all their changes and updates and, you know, I go in there, it's like, why is it this way now versus, you know, something different yesterday. And, but that's what they do, right? Because it's the changing it up is what forces people to spend more time on there. That's why if you'll notice, if you've ever been to a grocery store and it's like all of a sudden they've changed up where things are located. Why did they do that? Because now you have to look for what you were looking for, right? You typically you would go right to that spot in that aisle and like grab it and go, right? Now it's you have to spend time looking around and you might discover something else like, oh, well, I need this and I need that. And that runs up your grocery bill. So that's why they do that, right? And there's a strategy too. What goes on the upper shelf versus what goes on the lower shelf. All the stuff for kids goes on the lower shelf, right? Because they want the kids to see it and say, mommy, buy this, buy this, buy this. And then they end up buying it because you got to get the kid to shut up. So,
Just
so,
annoying.
you know, yeah. So, you know, there's a strategy to all the stuff that is psychological, right? To get people to do things that they may not normally do, or, you know, spend more time on things that, you know, they get their hook into you and it forces you to do things. And when you do that, they end up selling more and they make more money. So social media is the same way. And that's why, you know, when you're creating posts, it's important to have engagement.
I
Photos.
wanted to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead, Cindy.
I wanted to share that I took a class with the MLS this week. It was
Uh-huh.
phenomenal. I probably couldn't take the class itself and share it, but I could put on there the steps on how to find the class. Um, for example, you go into the matrix, you go into the education section and so forth.
Do you remember
I
what the class was called?
It was about, it was a marketing class for sure. But the
Okay.
thing that was, and but I'll look at my notes and I'll certainly tell everybody if you'd like, or put it on there, or just tell you
Yeah.
directly where I
Yeah.
found it. It was phenomenal, and that they talked about all of our resources. For example, we all use RPR, we all use Cloud CMA, but they were using some back end sections and even on the MLS about as providing even in prospect CRM, where we can all go to locate a link, and you take that link and it'll prompt, here's a video, and they already had videos or they already had stats or search options. It was fantastic. However, when I of course, in the video, when they put it on social media in a post, it's got a beautiful little box, and you click on the box and you open it. And then when I do it, it has just a long thread of a link, HTTP, forever. And then I'm like, I give up. But they are really fantastic resources. And Ellie, if you can figure that part out, I'd appreciate it because I can't.
If you could take that long whatever and put it into Bitly, I change it up all the time. Like when I do my posts, I just
But
change
the whole pretty picture goes away.
it shouldn't if you do Bitly.
Well, one of the things Facebook doesn't like things like Bitly or tiny URL, because what that is a redirection, and what they want is the real link, so that they know where it's going. They can verify it's a legitimate space. Now, doesn't mean that you can't get to it using Bitly. You can, but it seems to lose a little oomph when it does that, because Facebook will take a long URL like that and shorten it automatically anyway, if it works correctly.
Yeah, I've never seen that. That's why I do
Yeah,
Bitly.
I see that all the time, because then I'll go back and I'll try to copy the link to post it somewhere else, and it's like I'm not getting the whole link because they've shortened it, and I can't just copy and paste that same link somewhere else anymore. So I have to go back, you know, click on it, go to the actual URL, copy and paste that URL again in that next post. So
That's what
Oh,
you
it's
could
kind of
do,
asking you.
Cindy. Yeah, you could hit the link and actually go to actual article and copy
Yeah,
and
that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out and scratch my head why they're doing it. Theirs is so pretty and mine is not. It's just you press post and it's just this long link and you're like, what? Anyway, I'll show you guys the video and you guys can give me your 2 cents because I can tell you it would really spice up all of our posts and all of our media.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds interesting. That's why I did write it down. I was going to take a look, see if I can find it and look at it. Look, it is, another thing is trying to keep up with all that the MLS puts out for us, right? We pay a big bill to the MLS and we probably don't use half of the services that they provide. But I think if you can jump on some of these classes where they review what they do provide, you'll find something new that you can implement and put into play for yourself. Val, you got something?
Yeah, I did call them about what I was beefing about last week. I think, Ellie might have jumped off right before I talked about it, but what's really upsetting me is how horrible the data is in MLS. I mean, I don't know what happened, but maybe it's just during COVID, they fired all the people who were monitoring data and all these new agents don't know how to input data, but it's awful out there and it makes us look bad. So my question to them was, can we integrate AI into MLS so that it can correct the data and at least give us a starting place, even for us entering listings? If it can go grab as much as it can, throw it in there, and then we can verify it, or they can use it as a data checker somehow, because the crap that's in there makes my head spin some days trying to help people. And that's what we're in the business of, helping people. And if it's junk in, it's junk out.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went and I called, I went through the chat line and they couldn't answer any questions. So they sent me to support. Eventually I ended up being able to give and, make a suggestion. And I asked them to get back to me as soon as they got my suggestion, and no one's gotten back to me. And that was last Monday. So, I mean, I have to somehow get out there again and run it up the flagpole because I think it's feasible, but maybe it's not. But I do think that someone needs to monitor this stuff better. I mean, I report people all the time. I just do. I mean, if it's that bad,
Yeah.
I report right at the bottom. Report.
Yeah, it's real simple to do. I
So-
did one this week because in looking for homes that were leased, I came across one they use as a comp, and I'm like, every photo in it was watermarked with the group name. I'm like, what? I mean, that should be a no-brainer for a data checker to pick up
Yeah.
on, right?
And
So,
AI could probably pick that up, so.
and yeah, so I reported it. I'm like, that's
Valerie,
just,
I
that's
sent
just,
you two business cards this week. Did you try those?
Yeah, no, I didn't call it. I think they were trainers.
Yeah.
They might actually be interested in this topic because I think, I was getting the corporate clog and it's not gonna go anywhere. But, I might try them.
Yeah.
So, thanks for sending those. But
You're
I wanted
welcome.
to try the straight line first, which ends up being a stop.
yeah.
So I'll keep trying because I think the data can be better easily somehow if someone integrates something or does something better or puts in more, even electronic controls. They don't need to have, or like an auditor. I used to audit medical bills for an entire hospital and I would find, clusters of things that were wrong. And I could easily make a fix, but MLS doesn't seem to do that, and I don't know, it's my beef and I'll keep at it, but I'll keep you guys updated if I can get anywhere with it. But I'm just shocked at how bad it is out there.
Yeah, so we used to have an MLS committee that represents the board, and I've served on different MLS committees in the past, and we would be able to bring this sort of thing to the forefront. But after last year, Aura did away with the MLS committee, as well as the professional development committee. Don't know why, but they did away with those two committees, and those are two committees I do like to serve on. But typically, you can get together, right, and put together things like that, and then you bring it to the MLS and you get it addressed, right? MLS has a committee that is a combination of different boards, I guess. I'm not real sure. I haven't looked into them, because our MLS has gotten so big. I guess they've kind of developed their own committee, and they don't want individual boards because they're serving so many. So I guess it's hard for them to break it up and serve each one individually. I don't know, but yeah, I think enough of us have to speak up and reach out to the MLS directly and give them our recommendation and let them know that this is a problem. And then maybe if enough people speak up, they'll start addressing some of those issues. They keep bringing in more services, right? And that's great, but I mean, if we don't need those services, it's like we're paying for something we're not using. So I'd rather them get the data correct and force people to do the input correctly and make sure things are done right. Plain and simple. Maybe a lot of these violations need to be fined right off the bat instead of giving warnings, because people will be like, well, if it's a problem, the MLS will give me a warning. I'll have 48 hours to correct it. No big deal. But if that warning, if that notice comes with a $50 or $100 fine, then so be it. And I do know that there are some things that are fined automatically, like $500, and people still don't care. They'll be like, well, it's worth me paying the $500 fine. So yeah, well, there are big producers that don't care. And I think I've mentioned this on another week. I was on a webinar with a big producer from another area, and his thing with listings was if he took a 3-month listing, he'd still put it in the MLS with the expiration date a year out. And I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Evidently his area allows that. I doubt it, because we follow NAR. NAR sets the rules overall, and then individually, locally, there might be some things changed or added, but falsifying data is never okay. So
How can they do that if they check it against what their contracts are?
they don't, but that's just it. He says, they never audit, and they don't. MLS doesn't audit. Like DBPR will audit an office, but they audit for contracts. They don't audit for MLS approval. Now, if somebody raises the question and somebody says, hey, look, I think that this guy, always falsifies his expiration dates, I believe that you should, audit their listings. Then MLS could make that request, right? MLS has the right to request of the broker copies of those listing agreements to make sure that those expiration dates are in line. But somebody has to file a complaint in order for them to do it. Otherwise, they're not just going to voluntarily audit people and say, look, I need to see that you're complying.
They should do that randomly.
Yeah, well, they should. But I think if there's enough complaints against one particular broker, then maybe what they'll do is they'll be like, okay, look, we need to see if this broker is in compliance or not. But like the biggest thing is that I know agents don't like to be the police. And I get that, right? But we have to police ourselves because nobody else will. So it is up to us that when we see something wrong, we at least report it, or give a courtesy call to the agent. Say, hey, look, I see you got this listing and I see this information. I believe that it's wrong. You might want to double check it. I've done that numerous times over the years, just letting people know, or saying, hey, look, are you aware that you got your sign in the primary photo and that's not cool. And a lot of times it's just ignorance. They'll be like, oh man, I didn't even realize that, right? People get in a hurry.
You did. Yes, you did realize that.
Yeah, sometimes they plead ignorance, and
Yeah, you got branded videos posted out there.
look, I've made honest mistakes in the past too. I've just done something wrong. I get going too fast, and I might, click the wrong button, or uploaded the wrong photo or something like that, it's never intentional. And if I didn't go back and double check my work, which sometimes I don't, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, how'd that get in there, right? So I, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's why I, if it's, especially if it's somebody I know, I'd be, calling up like, hey, dude, do you know that this is, you got this wrong in the MLS? And usually they're appreciative of the fact that I raised that, and I've had people be like, what's it to you? They'll have an attitude like, hey, what are you doing? Policing my listing. It's like, it's fine. My broker said it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be like, okay, hit the report button, let them figure it out. So, because yeah, some agents have an attitude. Imagine that, right? Yeah. Egos tend to run wild in this business. So, but look, it is important that, our data is correct and accurate, and people make mistakes, give them the benefit of the doubt. But look, we also know that there are certain agents that we could probably pick out and say, yeah, they probably did it intentionally, and they need to be stopped. And so it's up to us to be able to do that, right? Because their broker's not checking it. The broker doesn't have enough time to go in there and police all their agents and make sure all their MLS stuff is done right, because most of the agents are inputting on their own, right? There's very few offices left, I believe, where the agent turns it in and the admin is entering the data. A lot of times they're using a transaction coordinator that they pay separately to input this stuff, and who knows what they're doing, right? So because a lot of times the agents are not following up and checking their transaction coordinators' work. So
I'm still on it.
yeah. Yeah, so we'll keep you posted if anything progresses with that. All right, so what else have we got today? What else you want to talk about? We got a few more minutes left. So it's kind of not bad for an impromptu meeting with all my stuff left at home on my desk.
That's okay. That's why I love that Remarkable. I write my notes in Remarkable. It's either on my computer, my phone, or the tablet.
So you've got a Remarkable. That's cool. I've wanted one of those. And I'm like, man, I kept waiting for the price to come down, and it hasn't come down.
It's been worth it. It's been worth it because if I used to have stacks of notebooks, and I'd be like, I don't know where it is. And now I have like little things I click on, and like coaching notes or Zoom meeting notes for Paul and all these other things, and it's just been pretty easy.
I'm trying to get back into the habit of using OneNote. I used to use that years ago, and so that syncs with my laptop, my iPad, my cell phone, right? So you could put all your notes in there, and you create notebooks. So you can have all your notebooks right there, because I'm the same way, where I use these paper notebooks all the time, and I've got stacks of these, and I'm like, I got to go back through and save the pages where I have cool notes or notes from different functions, and save those, right? Save them digitally, and then get rid of all the other paper. But with something like OneNote, Evernote's another one that's real popular, because Evernote's a free app. OneNote comes with the Microsoft suite of product, Microsoft Office. So I mean, I already got that, and that will back up to the cloud as well, so I don't ever have to worry about anything, and I can make as many notebooks as I want, and then in those notebooks I can break it down to as many sections and categories that I want, and then I can post pictures into those particular notebooks. And so it really is, if you get into the habit of using something like that Remarkable, that is a cool device, then that also means that's another device I got to carry around. So, and me with my handwriting, I don't know that I would actually benefit from Remarkable. You know,
I have
I bought
terrible
one of those pencils for my iPad, and I was trying to use one of those note programs where I can write on there. I'm like, man, I thought my handwriting was bad enough on with pen and paper. It's worse when I'm using the Apple Pencil on my iPad writing on a note. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So, but on OneNote, I can actually talk into it. It's going to type for me, or I can type it out, or I can copy and paste and put stuff in there. So,
It's all
so
about
that,
it's all about what you're comfortable and using and actually using. Doesn't matter the brand. It's all about what you
exactly.
use.
Yep. Yep.
My husband
You're
wants the
100%
one
right.
where you take a photo of your notes and that it can translate it into font, or I guess
Yeah. So
text.
you can, yeah, there's scanner apps that you can do. You can scan that page and it will convert it into text for you. Actually, I think with your camera. So when you take a picture of a sheet that has text on it, lines pop up, and so you can push the button where it'll capture just the text, and you can paste that into another document.
Remarkable mix writing to text as well.
Yeah, and you know, before Remarkable, there was another form that came out. It was on special paper. I had to use a special pen, and then there was a QR code that I can like upload it to everything. I just couldn't get into the habit of using that. I forget what that one's called. I still have that at home in my office that is being unused. So yeah, yeah. So, but I do like the Remarkable. That I was impressed with, and I really like that. But I think, you know, if I were to buy that myself, that would be another thing that sits on my desk because I'm like, yeah, it's just not working for me. You know, like you
And don't
said,
buy it.
it's like a CRM. Well, you know, it's another shiny penny. You know, it's like the shiny object syndrome, and it's like, oh man, that is so cool. I want one of those, right?
Gotta use
And
it.
but yeah, I know myself well enough that I probably would not use that, and I
Yeah,
need something a little bit more convenient.
been a
So it's even
lifesaver
like
for
with
me.
OneNote, right? I have to create the habit again of using that. I've done it before, and then I went without it for so many years, and then when I went back in it, it's like, oh my God, things are changed up. I have to relearn it, and then I can start applying it again. But I do plan on doing that because I that had saved me a lot of time and effort, saved me a lot of paper in the past, and so now it's like, okay, and you know, all my past stuff is still there from many years ago. So I'm just, you know, I can go through it and delete stuff I don't need anymore, and then, you know, there's stuff in there. It's like, oh wait, I can probably use this right now. So
Well,
yeah,
I'm
so
finding,
that's another good tool. What's that,
um,
Cindy?
I have a quick question for you, or everybody. I found a marketing company that I want to use. Um, they wanted me to sign a year contract, and I don't want to do that. I kind of went back and pushed back and said, you know, you can't confirm an ROI. So, you know, it's hard for me. I understand it's going to take time, um, to generate the activity that you're promising, but I don't want to sign that year contract. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I think you're 100% correct in not doing that, right? Committing to a year with anybody that can't prove results or guarantee results, um, you know, and if you got to pay for the year up front, especially, you know,
Hmm.
look, I've done too many programs over the years that I'm just like, you know, yeah, they never deliver what they promise, right? They promise you the world, we guarantee you're going to do this, and it's usually not the case. And you have to look at different programs very carefully. Look, there are some good programs out there, right? There's no doubt about it. But these marketing companies are a dime a dozen, and they can't assure you results. They can't, you know, I see it all the time. Oh, get 50,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah, right. Yeah,
From South Africa.
yeah, right. Well, that's what, yeah, my publisher did that with my one page. And it's like, they're all from Africa. I'm like, what? You promised me followers. They got me like 1,100 followers from, and I'm like, it's the other side of the world. They're not buying my book.
Like, are they in
Yeah, and
Florida?
they don't speak
In the
English.
US?
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden, when I log in as that user, my feed, everything's in a different language, and I'm like,
Uh,
that's like, because I think that's who I'm catering to, right? So, yeah, so you have to be careful. You've got to, look, there are some good marketing companies out there that will help you, right? And those that will help you and that can produce results, they'll let their results speak for themselves in how they charge you. And so it could be on a month-to-month basis with no contract. And look, if I'm not producing for you, you let me go, right? That's somebody I can work with a lot more, give them an opportunity. Maybe they'll want at least 60 or 90 days, right? Because it does take time to get things rolling. But yeah, a year up front, the realtor.coms, the Zillows, the homes.com, all those companies, they want you to sign on for a year, right? And they'll promise you all these results, but the reality is that they don't deliver the results that they promise. So
How much are they charging?
what's that?
How much are they charging, Cindy?
well, they wanted $800 a month, and I'm like, nope. And then they got it down to 400. So rather than these 500 leads, that are very targeted within my zip code that I'm targeting, like 3 zip codes just near me, then they will apparently use all this data on locating statistically which buyers, or I'm sorry, which sellers plan on selling.
Yeah. Now, look, you can do that yourself. I'm in that process right now, right? I'm changing up my marketing because I've been marketing to buyers, and I started marketing for sellers, and the marketing was generating leads, but I mean, it's the last couple months have just been haywire. But so I didn't implement my next communities. I started with a small one, and I'm like, okay, this is working. So now I'm going to implement some bigger ones. But I look at, okay, I know that I've got to be prepared, which I got to work out my workflow a little bit better than what I had. But I also need, like, I've got to be available, right? I got to know that, all right, as people start clicking and they want the value of their home, that I've got to be ready to go and be able to follow up with them, which I haven't been doing. And because we've got too much stuff going on in our lives. So, but I'm getting ready because we've got a community where we're looking at listing 2 homes. So while that was not on my immediate first set of groups to do, I'm now moving that up. I'm going to download everybody in that community. I'm going to upload to Facebook and start marketing to that group. It's going to be target marketing to that group. And that way, as these 2 listings come on, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, we've been seeing their ad now. Oh, now they're getting listings, and now it's going to be it should grow from there. And then of course, if I put my trying to attract buyers through that way, I'll go ahead and target them too with my buyer ads, my new construction ads. So now all of a sudden, this community will see us on a regular basis, and that will be that's more targeted, and that should attract people with more intention, right? Because our Facebook ad now, well, we've generated a boatload of leads. It's people just kind of cruising through. Oh, I like that house. Give me more information on that house, right? Whereas when you can market to people that have an intention and you generate those leads, you don't have to sift through so many bad leads to be able to find a good lead. Okay. So that's kind of where our focus has shifted recently, and all I need to do is just get my act in gear and implement this. So probably in the next couple of weeks, as we get through some of this this craziness we're currently going through.
This program apparently will send them postcards, letters. It'll find them on Facebook. It'll follow them around on, it has all of that combined. So,
Yeah,
I just thought I'd
yeah.
try it. And if it's
Well, and look,
targeting,
that is the best way to do it, right? You're hitting them on social media, they're getting letters, they're getting postcards. So it's just like all of a sudden you're a part of these people's lives. And yes, it will cost you a bunch of money to be able to get that and get the process rolling, right? Because direct mail does work. And when you tie direct mail to social media, it works even better. But it is costly. It's a costly way to do things. So maybe if that's what they're doing for you, I mean, do they guarantee any kind of results? And it's a year is a long commitment to make when you're paying that much money.
yeah,
So that's the biggest thing with those kind of companies. And so, that's a decision you have to make. Look, it should be an investment into your business. And we do have to invest in our business, right? To do things like that will generate business for us, because
Yeah.
this is a business where it usually doesn't just happen. Now if you're get referrals and things like that, that's really helpful too. When you're well connected and you're networking with people, that's another great way. But when we're looking to consistently add new people to our CRM, to our database and to our network, we've got to find new ways to find new people. And so, that's one of the things I'll be talking about in my class on Wednesday. There's many ways to be able to continually add people to your database. It's just going to be a matter of, well, what way are you going to work? Okay. And what's going to work for you? What will work for you is the one that you're going to work. It's just as we mentioned earlier. It's like, what you use for you're using OneNote, Evernote, or you're using the Remarkable. I mean, which one are you going to use? Because whichever one you choose and you work that is going to work for you. And so it's the same thing with your marketing, right? Those are all spinning plates. And so whichever place you get spinning, and you get spinning well, you do more of. And then you might go try to discover another spinning plate that will work for you. It might
I'll
work,
let you guys know how it goes.
Yeah. Let us know how it goes, because that's, I'd be curious about that. Like I've looked into similar type systems in the past. And I'm like, yeah, it's a big investment. It's a big investment. And so that's what you have to decide, whether, you want to invest your money and let that work for you, or you want to invest your time and let your time work for you. And anytime you can invest your money and you get a good return, that's when you got your money working for you, and your time becomes yours again. So, but yeah, they do. The unfortunate thing is they do promise you the world, and it's not always delivered. So
Just go on video, Cindy. You'll be fine.
yeah.
Thanks, Sally.
Well, all right, guys. Well, look, it's we've surpassed the top of the hour. Does anybody else have anything to add before we sign off for today?
Happy Labor Day.
Yeah, happy Labor Day. Go get them this week.
I appreciate all you guys showing up for, being a holiday and everything. And I'm glad you were here. I'm glad we had a great dialogue today. So I hope that was helpful and beneficial. And I promise you that those topics we discussed last week that we're going to talk about moving forward, we'll be prepared next Monday to cover that. And that way we can be more specific about what we talk about. All right.
Have
All right, have a
awesome
great
classes
week.
this week, Paul.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
week.
Paul.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.